to the Ref Room. Hockey talk for referees, coaches, players, and fans.
Broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
With your hosts, Smokin, Silz, and Baumruck.
Live.
The Ref Room starts right now.
And now your host.
Oh, yeah, it is Monday night, everybody. The new time, the new location, all that good stuff. I am Smokin, Silz, along with my man, Baumruck. This is the Ref Room. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the show and you've never watched us before, say hello. Put a comment down in the link, and we'd love to respond to you and get you more actively involved in the show. How you doing, my friend? What's going on?
Good evening, Scott. It's weird to say that instead of
I know.
noon. So the switch time was different, but I don't know. It's going to be more interesting here. The sun will eventually be out when we start this. So
yeah, I was thinking about that earlier today, believe it or not, because I'm like, the lighting is going to change, at least for me, all the time, because, you know, we have the bright daylight. Now we're at nighttime. So at 5:30, it could be very interesting. So I'm glad everybody's here. Crazy busy week in hockey. And, you know, we've got a couple really special guests today joining us. And we have some major breaking news that will affect all of us, okay? This will affect all of us, and we're going to cover that today. So we invite you to stick around for that. But we got a couple firsts on this show this week, and that is we're actually bringing a team captain on. So we're going to get a player's perspective of the Ref Room tonight. So I hope our guests are very much ready for this. So I think we're going to bring them in right now because we got a lot we want to talk about. And so it is my great honor to bring in some people from St. Ignatius High School, one of the definite top high school teams in the Chicagoland area. We have the associate coach who is also, he works for the Blackhawks. He's big time, Spencer Montgomery. And joining us is the captain of St. Ignatius, number 36, Will Karnick. Guys, welcome to the Ref Room.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Yeah, happy to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
Will, how you doing?
Thanks for having us. Pretty good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
I'm
our
excited,
pleasure.
So.
All right.
Our pleasure. Hopefully you've seen me around the rink a couple of times. I know Spence has. I've had the pleasure of bumping into him everywhere. Will, I don't think you've ever yelled at me, so that's a positive. But if you wanted to, today is the day.
Now's your chance. Now's your chance. You can voice all the things you want to about referees, and there's no repercussion.
I recognize the faces, so.
Uh-oh.
Well, that's okay.
Now we're in trouble.
Yeah, that's right.
Usually, I don't know about you, but like when I started reffing and I went to all these seminars and everything that we have to do, you know, I didn't know any of the people. And then I got to know who they were. And then I saw him back out on the ice with the helmet. And I'm like, oh, I remember him. So you definitely are going to have your favorites and your not so favorites. So we totally understand it. But we've never had a player on the show before. And I thought it'd be really interesting because, you know, I think we should cover a couple things today and talk about, you know, how the players view the officiating. Are officials too strict sometimes? Are they not strict enough? What do you guys like? I mean, tell us a little bit about your perspective. And is there a little bit of the way you guys adjust on the bench to, you know, the different referees that you have at different games?
Yeah, I mean, I think personally it's pretty easy to pick up on kind of just the general vibe that a ref is kind of giving off at the start. Personally, being the captain, I get a little bit more leeway with the refs. But, yeah, I mean, sometimes I get refs that they don't really want to talk to the players and they'd rather just talk to Spence or something like that. And they communicate that pretty well. I think the best thing a ref can really do is just communicate with the players and with the coaches what they want, what they kind of their standards, how they like to do things, and that's just the best way that there can be a little bit of more flow in the game, and it just makes it easier for everybody, I would say.
Yeah, well, we're really excited you're here so we can cover some of this stuff today because we've got some hardcore questions we're going to ask you guys as players. We want to know more of your opinion and you know how like the new rules affect you guys. Although you're playing high school, so a lot of the rules didn't change as much with regard to like the icing and the instant offsides and things of that nature. But you know, Spence, You know, we see you all the time. I mean, we didn't really get to cover like all the titles you hold working for the Blackhawks. Tell us a little bit about what you do for them.
Yeah. Thanks again for having me on. My role's changed a lot. This is my eighth season with the team. So I actually started my career in the American Hockey League. I'm from Portland, Maine, and was working for the Portland Pirates in the AHL. And I applied online for the job in 2014 here with the Blackhawks. And I didn't know a single person in the city, and kind of packed up my Jeep and moved out here. And it's been a great run. This is year 6 with St. Ignatius, and coaching with Matt Smith, our hockey director and head coach. And then with the Blackhawks, I've done everything everything kind of on the basis of growing the game, from a youth hockey perspective, from an adult side. And my specific focus now is on the adult and high school side of the game. How can we amplify what's going on? I really believe in the notion of a student athlete, and playing for your community. There's just nothing like it when the people you sit next to in class are watching your games, and there's a crazy environment. We want to amplify that message as much as possible from the Blackhawks side.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when we didn't have fans in the building for like 2 years, what a difference it is now. And I'll tell you, when you put a full student body in those buildings, I love it. I love it. I don't care if they're going crazy and beating on that glass and yelling whatever they need to yell. I just like it. It amps us up too. So it's a great environment. I would like to see the schools be able to do more to get more of the students to come in to all these different games that we have.
You know, with saying that, Scott, you know, Spence, I know you guys did the rivalry series just recently. So A, can you explain that? And B, did the schools help out with any of that? Or was it just mainly through the clubs? Because I know most of our clubs here are independent. I know we do have a couple in the state that are school affiliated, but a lot of them aren't. I mean, I don't know how you guys did that, if the school pitched out or reached out, excuse me.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing it up. We've got our final 2 games. We've got New Trier Loyola on Thursday night up at Centennial Wilmette, and then we've got Brother Rice and St. Rita on Sunday the 30th at Oak Lawn. And yeah, so the whole idea was to try to show people what's going on in these rinks. We had 2,000 people at the what was it, the Glenbrook North, Glenbrook South game before Thanksgiving, and just an unbelievable high school hockey environment. We tried to bring our Blackhawks game experience to those local community rinks. So we have Jim Cornelison singing the anthem. Tommy Wingles went to New Trier. He's going to drop the puck on Thursday night. We've got Tommy Hawk riding behind the Zamboni and throwing T-shirts into the stands. And we brought our DJ in. We brought rally towels for each team. We really wanted to help to create that kind of mayhem environment that high school hockey can have, and that comes with doing it the right way, which is respectfully and not having fights between fans and any of that. But we're really excited where this could go, and I think if we can do something like a Winter Classic, that might be something we look to down the road. But we work primarily with clubs. We haven't had too much school involvement outside of the security side of things. So I agree with you. That's an area we want to get better here in Illinois. And how can we include the schools and make sure that as many students as possible know the games are going on?
Well, I'll tell you, in terms of like games, you guys just played a big one very recently. You were in the finals of, correct me, is it like the Jesuit Cup or something that you had, the Catholic League? You have teams coming in from out of school or out of state, and you guys played Loyola in the championship game. I mean, your program has, come from here to here over the last several years. I mean, the growth is unbelievable. How much better when I started, I've been reffing for almost 10 years now. You guys were down here. Now you're like up here, like through the roof. Big game against Loyola. You guys are right there competing. Give us your thoughts on like coming state tournament and, closing out the season, because we're just like a week or 2 away from playoffs with pretty much all the teams.
When does the Kennedy Cup start? The playoffs.
Yeah, Kennedy Cup starts the weekend after next. So we're prepared and excited for that opportunity. I'll tell you what, our program stands on the shoulders of the guys. Will's brother played at the school, and it's really been a process of building through culture. And we've seen guys buy in and want to play for us and put the work in. And I think the future is going to continue to be bright for St. Ignatius. And the next step is to slay the dragon. We won our shots. We love that Jesuit Cup because we got a shot at the number 1 seed in the state. And we had a lead on them the whole game and kind of gave up a late power play there, but we really feel we can compete. And so we try to find little ways to close gaps, whether that's getting together the night before a game and making sure that there's team unity, or it's doing some stuff on the mental side of the game. We're working with a guy named Pierre DeBar who works with the University of Wisconsin. So really, how can we take these small little inches and get better?
Wow, that's impressive. You guys are going all the way. You're all in. That's really, really very cool.
Yeah, I think
reference, Scott.
Yes, wasn't it?
That was a great reference. I thought that was good.
Yeah, try to be a little clever once in a while.
What goes through your head going out as the captain of the team? Because every team has some knuckleheads on it, but the captain's there to pull them to the side, and you're going out to that final, and you got a guy joking around and not thinking seriously. What's your role, and how do you communicate with them and stuff like that?
Yeah, one of my biggest things I like to do is the approach that I take towards the game and towards every game is kind of the state that your mind is in, and making sure that your head's in the right place prior to the game, during the game, and then even after the game. But the biggest thing for me is just making sure the whole team's on the same page. If you got guys that are doing things and they're on their own, then you can't really succeed with that. So I really try to focus on making sure everybody's on the same page, and just we all get the same goal, right? So our goal is Kennedy Cup and then state. We don't have our eyes on anything else right now. So every game we're playing as if it's our last, and especially for the seniors, it's hard knowing that it's going to come to an end soon, but we got to make the most of it now. And our focus level is to me the most important right now. So that's kind of my approach, just making sure everybody's on the same page.
I think the state looks pretty wide open this year. I don't think we have any one team that, everybody's going, oh man, it's going to be impossible to beat that team. I mean, I think now we've got like 6 really good teams that on any given night can win this thing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, I think one of the keys to this thing is to ascend and get to your A game at the right time of year. And all those things play a part. I'll make a little bit of an analogy. If you remember the Tampa Bay Lightning, we've had our share of heartbreak, if we're being totally honest, at St. Ignatius. We've now lost. We've been to the Kennedy Cup final 3 times and have not found a way to get over that hump. But particularly last year, if you draw an analogy to the Tampa Bay Lightning, they were swept. They had a great regular season and then swept by Columbus 4 games. Kind of everyone was shocked what happened here. And then they came back and won 2 Stanley Cups. So we feel like we've felt the pain, we've learned the lesson, and now's our time to be hunters and really go for the wins.
There you go. Hey, Scott, before you keep going here, there's actually a question for Will that came in there that I think you should ask and put out there. It's a comment too, and I think it's a nice one.
Yep. All right. Let me see if I can get this up. Okay. From Steve Drews. We'll just want to know how your helmet fits with that do. Oh, he's jealous. Okay. So I think what he's trying to say is you got some flow, and most of us don't have that anymore. We used to have that, but we don't have it. So do you have to go like a helmet size bigger with that flow that you got there, Will?
Oh, yeah. I find a way to pack it in. I've been going in and out, though. We got a little mullet season for the playoffs coming up, so...
you're going all in, huh?
Yeah. So I'm excited about that, but I appreciate that.
Whatever happened to the Caner racing stripes?
Yeah.
I might have to get that. I'm thinking about it.
Our referee in chief, Eric Kousel, says, welcome, boys. Spence not in a suit. Yeah, we're all used to seeing you always dressed up, Spence.
Yeah, you know what? Enjoying. We've had a change in leadership at the Blackhawks office, and it's we're able to, on days that we don't have a game, we're able to be a little bit more comfy. So this is going to be more of the norm, Eric.
Okay. So you're actually coming to us from the Blackhawk offices. Is that where you're working out of right now? Both of you guys are there?
Exactly.
Oh, very cool. All right, nice. So, a couple things that I want to ask you guys about, and that is, like Spence, you have a very unique role because most coaching staffs, you're not actually the head coach, but yet you have a big play. I mean, referees talk to you probably more than they talk to the head coach, which is very unusual. That your head coach is willing to put you out there and let you be such a vocal part of your team and the leadership of that team. That's a very unique situation. I don't think we see that from a lot of schools or any of the other programs. You want to elaborate a little bit on that? And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Smitty, Matt Smith and I, we've been coaching. It's really a partnership, and we've done it together. A kind of a fun fact is we actually coached Will when he was a first year Pee Wee. So we coached him at the Chicago Stallions. So that was 7 years ago. So I've got a great picture. Maybe I can find a way to get it up into the chat or somehow. But basically, we've really been doing this as a tandem and a team. And when he applied for the job at St. Ignatius, I helped him go through everything we wanted to do to prepare for that role. And again, we feed off of each other. We kind of we have different personalities that we think fit and work well together. And part of my role, the Blackhawks, gets me close to a lot of guys around the game, and so Matt's comfortable and trusting enough in me to allow me to have some of those opportunities, and I appreciate that.
That's awesome. Very cool. Will, do you guys take direction well from both coaches, or is one more the one good cop, bad cop? How does this work out for you guys as players?
Hang on, let me help you out here. You don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
Brad forgot to tell you, if there's somewhere you don't want to go direction-wise, just let us know. This is probably a good spot to inject that into the conversation, that you don't have to go there if you don't want to.
Oh yeah, I think it's a good question. One of the things that I think helped build this program is the respect that the team has for both Spence and Smitty. It's kind of a responsibility that they've taken on to make sure that the team understands that those two guys care, and that's why we've been able to succeed. So we listen to what they say, and we understand that they're here to see us win, and we trust them. So I wouldn't really say that we favor either of them, but they're easily respected from everyone. So.
Well, winning is definitely something that's going on, because I think when I looked, I think you guys are 16-3. Is that right? Is that what I saw?
16-2, Brad.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I'm not trying to make it any harder. I know it's hard for one of those victories.
Who are the two losses to? I know one was to Loyola, correct, in the finals, in overtime.
This is the Catholic League.
That's the
only.
league.
So the two losses are Bennett and Providence, and we've really built a. We have the utmost respect for both of those programs. They've been competitive in the Catholic League certainly as long as I've been around, and well before that. I think the first year we were coaching Providence was in their second year of going to the United Center. So nothing but respect on that side. And we lost to Bennett at home kind of to start the season, and then Providence on the road this past Friday. But we feel like we position ourselves really well, and if we get the job done on Thursday and Sunday, we will have the 1 seed in the Catholic League, which is important, because out of the 2 or 3 series, you get 2 at home.
That's awesome.
That's a good point. I forgot that it's an odd number.
All right, how many games have you got left for this season right now?
Yeah, just two games remaining. Thursday night, we are at Southwest Ice Arena, an old favorite. We're playing St. Rita there, and then we've got our senior night Sunday, I believe at 7:30 versus Notre Dame.
I just had Rita the other night.
Yeah, we don't take we give everyone respect. Rita, they always play us hard and competitively. So looking forward to that matchup, and this is really the home stretch.
That's funny. Gaffney says, "See you Sunday."
No,
all right.
That's
well,
great.
Boy,
it's a small community.
I have a topic I was hoping to bring up, if that's all right.
What's that? Yeah, please.
Yeah, so kind of we've been working on is first I wanted to talk about that relationship with referees and how coaches can set the table. And One thing that we've done this year more than others is really to ask at the beginning if it's all right if the captain handles a lot of the communication. And so I kind of wanted to toss that at you guys. How do you feel about speaking to the captain, and what have you seen as the most effective kind of forms of communication?
Scott, do you want to go first, or you want me to go
Yeah,
first?
I'll go first. I
right.
love it. I think it's amazing when the captains come over to the referees. There are some teams, even at the younger levels, and I'm talking about peewees and bantams, where you'll have the captains and the assistant captains come over and introduce themselves to the refs before the game. And I think that is just so cool. I really appreciate it. I respect it. We're happy to talk to players. I consider the goalie usually to be my best friend on the ice, believe it or not, because, there's not a time that goalie doesn't make a save that I'll say, hey, that was a great save, or nice glove, and he hands me the puck. Thank you for handing me the puck. I appreciate it. Or a defenseman that's willing to either pick the puck up or shoot it down the ice after an icing. I will thank them every time. It's greatly appreciated on my part, and I'm sure it is with many of the other referees. I think it keeps the game moving. I think it's a little bit of a conversation. And I find I've had games where goalie might have gotten beaten pretty badly, actually. The goalie might be the only guy that comes up to me at the end of the game and shakes my hand or says something to me because I was complimentary to him the entire evening, not beating him up. So I love talking to the players. I think it's a great thing. I think if referees are not doing that, I think you're making a big mistake. The captain can be your best friend. He can be in a situation, in a scrum in front of the net, along the boards. He's the guy that can help you. If he tells his players stop, they're going to stop. Maybe more so than even a referee. So these are things that we have talked about on the show, and the importance of having good communication. When it comes to talking to coaches, I'm happy to talk to coaches. Brad and I like to talk anyway, but I would prefer to have the conversation with whoever's in charge of the bench, so that we're only having to communicate more with the one person that we've been introduced to. And I'm going to give you a great example of this. This was probably last year at some point. I had a guy on the bench. He was the only one there. He signed the score sheet. I assumed he was the head coach. They were an out-of-town team. I didn't know them, didn't recognize anybody. So I assumed he was the head coach. Game went on. All of a sudden, I got this guy just losing his mind back there. Like, dude, you're the doorman. Like, pipe down, okay? I mean, like, this is ridiculous. I'm looking at the other guy that signed the sheet I felt was the head coach. He's not having a meltdown. You can go home. Didn't know that was the head coach. Probably a mistake that you didn't come out and introduce yourself to us. I'm serious. He would have gotten a lot more leeway from me if he was the head coach versus who I thought was parent, doorman, whatever the case may be. This is the reality of things. I think if you don't want to communicate with your referee before the game and say hello, I don't think it bodes well for you. And I've had a couple situations this year where I've had coaches on the bench, head coaches won't look at you, won't talk to you. And these are people I don't even know. These were games I had never worked before. I'm not going to tell you what organization, but I don't typically see these teams very often. And so I don't know who the head coach is or what, but I mean, this guy went and dug his head into a puck bucket, he started picking up sticks. He did everything he could except sweep the rink and the back bench to avoid speaking to the referee before the game. But as soon as the game started, you kind of knew he was the head coach at that point. But that's my take on the communication. So I love talking to the players. Captains, please talk to us. I think it's great. And if we know you're a good communicator, when we do have that situation, it's that much easier to talk to you and let you take it back to the head coach. So, working together out there, we are a team. I mean, you can help control situations sometimes better than we can. We don't want to come off as the bad guy all the time. So,
Next time you get a question, I'm going to set a timer. See how long we go. All right. No, you know what? The best thing about it is I do enjoy when the captains are more involved, because you do get that one-on-one interaction. And let's just be fair and to be honest, Spence, you're a coach. You guys get more frustrated sometimes more than the captains that are out on the ice. And sometimes the captains, which are the students, are actually more calm, especially if I've seen your team 2, 3, 4 times. I've now started to develop a relationship with that captain. Like, I'll tell you an excellent story from when I was working. I'm down in St. Louis, and the St. Louis captain's coach would throw him out there for ridiculous things all the time. And finally, after that, I'm like, "You a baseball fan?" It was like the 4th or 5th time. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm a Cards fan." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm a White Sox fan." He goes, "Okay, good. We can be friends then." So every time he would throw him out there, he would come out. Unless we really needed to talk about something, we would talk about baseball. And we would do it consistently, and he would just go over there, and he would go, "Nah, I really don't understand what he said, so you'll have to ask him." And he'd look at me, and I'd be like, "We talked." Like, so me and him had
You're making me angry, Brad.
Sorry. I'm just telling you. But that was a far and few in between. That's only one time that I had to ever do that. But 99.9% of interactions with captains are positive. And they can normally go over then and then say what it is to their coach that I'm trying to say in a much more tactful way than I can, so that their coach doesn't get more upset. Because sometimes, every once in a while, when we go over there, it's like dumping gasoline on a fire. Because we're trying to tell you something, but we're telling you, and it's just making it worse and worse, and we're not trying to, and it just makes it worse. So having that person in between, I enjoy. And I'm with Scott, especially too, with the goaltenders. I chat up the goalies the whole time, because the people that are out on the ice, those 2 big guys normally in the back that got big slap shots, they're always looking to protect the goaltender out on the ice. And yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but the goalies are real good at talking them down from doing something that I would consider stupid, to where I have to step in and penalize them. Captains, you guys control most of your team. The goaltender really backs you up, though, especially because they're out on the ice the entire game. So that's just my take on it. Keep talking to us. You know, I don't even mind if you wheel by as we're doing a line change. "Hey, did you have that happen?" You don't even have to make it formal. "Well, no, I didn't see it that way." You know what? Okay. So as long as we talk to each other, I'm always willing to listen. You know, every once in a while, somebody says something, and I'm like, "You know what? I'm 100% with you. I don't know why I didn't call that. Tell your coach I'm sorry." And it just happens. We're human. We don't do it on purpose. We know that that's not the answer anybody wants to hear, but that's how it happens sometimes, unfortunately.
I agree with that. I kind of like being able to have that communication with the refs, but then every once in a while you'll get a ref that would rather talk to the coaches about it. So sometimes it gets hard to go over there and say something that they don't really want to hear.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, and I was going to say there's 2 things going on. One is how much are you getting back from the referee in that situation? Yep. And then 2 is how much does your coach want you talking to the refs, right? So if you have a situation where your coach has to be re-explained everything that you had, it's not going to work. It's not going to work overall. So a little bit of that, being a captain, I would imagine, is getting a real feel for the game.
I'd agree.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, I mean, you know, you have coaches that start asking for explanation of icing and icing offside. It gets real basic. It gets real old real fast. Like, seriously, like, do you not know that if your player doesn't attempt to play the puck, you're not going to get the icing, that somebody's going to wave that off? If your player has alligator arms because you're trying to get the whistle and he doesn't want to reach his stick out 6 inches, you're not getting the icing. That is the correct call. You know, you really hate to get into, like, do I really need to come over after every icing and communicate why that was an icing or why that wasn't an icing? And you do have coaches that almost take you to that spot. And, you know, I mean, I get there's big plays. You know, you got a no-goal situation. Yeah, I get no problem coming over and explaining what happened to you. You know, I may try to give you a signal from the bench, like, you know, like the puck was directed with the hand or the foot, or the skate. But, you know, I'm going to communicate it. If you don't understand what I'm doing, I'm happy to come over. You know, you got a penalty shot situation. Let's get the penalty shot done. I'll come over and talk to you and explain it all. I have no problem with that. You know, communication is key. And I think as a captain, Will, you're doing the right thing. Come over, speak to the referee, and, you know, hopefully, you know, you get the answer that you're looking for. A lot of times it's you know, judgment on referees' parts. They're trying to be equal in the way that they call things. I mean, do you like a tighter called game, or do you like it more like a little looser, a little more bang 'em up, less penalties, or do you like penalty's a penalty, call it by the book, black and white?
All right.
What do you like, Will?
Hey, hold on, real quick, Scott. Since you touched on something, and I just want to elaborate on it.
Yeah.
In a penalty shot situation, always get the penalty shot taken first. They just had that adrenaline rush to get it down the ice. You want to replace that opportunity. And if you go over there and start talking to a coach and waste time, you're no longer replacing that same opportunity. It's the same as icing the kicker in football. And the referees are doing it, not the other team. So get that penalty shot in. And I'm going to tell you this. If one guy is mad because his player got penalized, he might not be mad after his goalie saves it.
Exactly.
So it might just go on.
And that's why I said let's do that, because you know there's probably a 70% chance the goalie's going to make the save, and then we don't even need to have the conversation because we've moved on.
Just
and,
making sure.
I didn't want to
Now
give
go
you that
back to
little
that.
tip, but that is a tip. Okay, so now you guys know.
Now go back to Will. What you asked?
Will, go ahead.
Ask him again.
What did I ask you? So do you like the tight? Do you like the tight called game, Will, or do you guys want to bang it up out there and a little looser, less penalties, a little more aggression, or do you like it tight?
Yeah, that's a good question. Personally, I'd say a little looser, just so that the flow of the game is kind of still there and it's not stops and starts all the time with penalties and having to kill penalties and all that stuff. I think it could go both ways, though. Personally, I think I'd rather have a little looser, just like I said, keep that flow.
So do you prefer that you don't call that trip in the neutral zone and you let that go, or do you prefer that the trip gets called in the neutral zone and let's stop because we're going to get a power play?
I mean, obviously, when there's an obvious call, it's an obvious call, but that I don't know. I think having a little like roughing around and with the new rules and everything, it gets kind of hard with what's a penalty and what isn't. But I think I'd still stick to the loose, not as many call game.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the reason I'm asking this is there was a Facebook post. I'm going to share this with you guys. I thought this is something we could talk about today on the show. Let me get this up here. I'm going to have to kind of turn my head, unfortunately. It's going to be a little tough to read this. But the gist of it is it's somebody that said, reading through comments on posts in these groups, there seems to be a big emphasis with USA hockey officials to throw the book at people. And for lack of a better term, make a rather big deal out of seemingly minor things. Last year, I started working hockey at higher levels outside of USA rules, which means some of the better leagues that don't have the same rule book as USA hockey. And he thought that the officials were much more laid back about a lot of things. He said a lot of the youth hockey guys I've worked with and read comments from in here. I see instances where I read or watch a situation and think I got a minor for that, and people are recommending hitting them with a match penalty or turning these situations into some type of confrontation where game misconducts and match penalties are threatened. And I know what they're referring to. They'll watch a video online and they'll be like, okay, maybe the guy had a, big hit on the guy. What do you got? Maybe I got head contact on that. Or maybe that's just a rough. Or maybe it's, oh no, that's a match penalty. And we see this a lot in referee communities. So I was just going to kind of get your take on that. And that's where I was kind of heading with that. And Spencer, I'd love for you to chime in on this as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the thing I'm really looking for is consistency as a coach. So whether you call it tight or loose, I'm willing to understand that people are going to have a different ways that they ref the game. And I don't think anyone woke up in the morning saying, this is how I'm going to do it, but or I want to screw a certain team. I've never felt like that as a coach, but I am looking for consistency. If you're going to, if a whack is going to get you to the box in one end, then I expect a whack to get you to the box down on the other side. And then the other thing I'm looking for is what consequence did it have on the gameplay? So in my ideal world, the plays that don't really have a consequence on the gameplay are less called, and you kind of, you take both guys or whatever else. But the stuff that's affecting the flow of the game and the puck, that probably to me needs to be called on a regular basis.
That's a great answer.
Yeah,
You know what?
I
I'm
liked
going to
it.
throw something back at you because you work for an NHL team. You see a lot of high level amateur hockey games, and then you watch an NHL game, and oh my gosh, if a stick comes up and it just happened to glimpse the hand a little bit. Oh, that's a hooking penalty. The NHL's gotten kind of soft. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, that's something that we've talked about a little bit. Do you think the NHL is so strict? It's so black and white? Because I don't think the amateur hockey is as black and white as the NHL is.
Yeah, first thing I'm going to say is I can't stand the instigator penalty. I believe that I believe it's important to show your teammate you care, and the effect that has on the game is so major that you've taken away what I would call the self-policing of the game. And I'm not asking hockey to go 20 years and backwards and have enforcers on every team. I'm not, but I do believe when a skill player, and we've seen it with Alex DeBrincat this year and in the past. When a skill player steps in for a teammate, let's get the instigator out of there and be honest. Listen, and all that means is you're not jumping the guy. If you jump a guy, you get the instigator. But if the other guy agrees to go and it's a result of a big hit, I'd really like to see that penalty removed. In the NHL game, it's tough. I mean, if you look at this last game, I think Taves got 2 for something and then 2 for talking back at the ref. I don't know if that was an ego thing between those two, but it ended up costing the Blackhawks the game. And really a pivotal kind of, I don't think you can call that in the third period. So that's where I don't like to see those kind of calls.
I understand about the self-policing of the game.
Yeah.
The star players now are kind of just out there. If you look at history, Wayne Gretzky always had, I can't think of his name. Luke Robitaille with him. He got traded
Marty
everywhere.
McSorley.
Or Marty McSorley. Thank
McSorley.
you. Couldn't think of the name. Thank you. He went everywhere with him. Thank you very much, by the way, for correcting me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he could skate up and down the ice, and if somebody messed with him, guess what?
Marty McSorley is right there.
Yeah,
Clean up the mess.
I'm not saying let's go back to those extremes, but I think you should be able to defend your guy after a big hit, whether or not it's clean. I understand people don't want to see that either, but a big hit will totally change the tempo of that game. But it also changes possibly your roster for the next 5-6 weeks, months, the rest of the year. So you're going to say, hey, yeah, you're going to make a big hit on a guy, but we're going to at least make sure that it's A, clean, and B, you're still not going to be hitting our star player like that. That makes sense? I don't know. I kind of trailed.
We
Totally
had Tim Peel on the show, and, Tim's been an NHL referee for many, many, many years. And, he's like, when he started, like 2 teams getting together, nobody had a pleasantry to exchange with one another. It was, what are you looking at? That might be the conversation versus, well, how was your summer? It's great to see you. And that's how the league is now. So it's like, gee, I missed you. I didn't get a postcard from you from your summer vacation. Hope you're doing well.
Well, if you miss rivalries, come on down to the Catholic League. There's not a lot of the buddy stuff going on pregame. The rivalries run deep.
No, you're right.
True. That is very true.
Well, I got a question for both of you guys. We'll start with Will. All right, Will, what do you think the referees could be doing better out on the ice during your games that you see? Because sometimes we don't get to ask the players that. And you can be brutally honest, even if you say that I'm terrible and I can't skate. I'm fine with that. I'm good with criticism. You don't hate me, you hate my uniform.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question, too. In the moment, I think it's more of a I don't know. That's a tough question. Spence, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I can take this and give you a little bit of time. The one thing I'm looking for, and this is at any level, is for the referees to work hard. I want to see you get into the goal line if you can. And so if I think a ref or the offsides, the blue lines, when I see a ref kind of dogging it and disinterested in being there, and to be honest, I don't see that a lot at the high school level. I just don't. But I do see it at some of the younger games I attend. It's just kind of like, hey, this is the whatever. It's my 5th game in a row, and I also want to throw in. I understand that our referees are overworked. So this just comes from a place of an ideal world, but working hard really matters to me. I'm not under the impression any ref is bought into trying to affect the outcome of a game. But when you're not working hard, that does bother me.
I think
agree.
that's a great point. I don't know any refs that don't want to work hard that are working your games. I mean, all the ones that I see on there are, dedicated professional people that really want to do the best for you guys. I hope you guys know that. I mean, everybody works really hard out there, and you're fortunate. Like, you do have a four-man system with most of your games. I'm assuming. Well, I know the Catholic League is four-man system. I don't know if you get a lot of games where you only have two. I know I did one of your games this past season. That was a two-man. It was supposed to be a four-man. It was a Saturday night game, and it's a little tougher to get up on those lines and get as close in a varsity game. So you're doing a lot of things. You're watching for penalties. You're watching for offsides. You're watching for. You're trying to stay out of the way. You're trying not to get killed. So it is a big difference when you have 2 versus 4. And obviously your preference is probably 4, but why don't you give us some of the ways you guys work around when you only have 2 or 3 or 4? I don't know if you get 3. Do they give you 3 ever instead of 4? Probably do occasionally.
Yeah, this year more than any other.
Yeah,
I just think it's flexibility and understanding. I agree with you. Listen, when there's 2 refs, you have to understand they're not going to be able to catch every line, and some of it's going to have to be on the fly. So, as a coach, my first instinct is that I don't need to be hollering, or it's probably more conversation. Felt like that was offsides. When 4, I expect more, and so definitely get a little bit more rope when there's just 2 out there.
Yeah,
Do you
I
think
agree with that.
you think the game is called tighter with 4 or looser with 2?
I think you have to have 4 at the high school varsity level. I really do. There's a lot of ice to cover, and as you mentioned, the game's fast. So it can be a little bit tighter, but we've also seen. I mean, it depends on who you're playing. I mean, sometimes I think the SHL, that Scholastic League, is a lot more physical. And to be honest, I do think it's a faster league. So when we play those games, I find it to be a lot more physical than ours. So sometimes ours gets a little bit ticky-tacky, but
well, I think it's an interesting point that you bring up, because, I like the idea of 4 for the varsity games. I think it's kind of tough doing some of these games with 2, but believe it or not, like, I work north side a lot, and city, we see a lot of 2-man varsity. A lot of the teams, that's what they go with. Would 3 be better? I like 2 or I like 4. I'll work 3. I don't have a problem with it. Now, I know, Brad, I know you like 3, because then you're in complete control of every penalty that's called.
I'm not in control, but I get to pick through the game.
Yeah.
And it's only mine. I don't have to fight with anybody else for it.
You guys, 2 referees, either way, whether it's 2 or 4, they have to be on the same page as to the standard. And that can sometimes be a little tricky. You have some guys that call a little tighter game, some call a little looser game. So it's a dog and pony show back and forth trying to get it right. Sometimes if you haven't worked with that person before. A lot of the guys you've worked with, you go out with somebody that you've worked 10 games with during your career. You know what to expect. You know what the standard is. It's a lot easier for us, but we have a lot of new officials now, and guys are getting opportunities to move up a little quicker than they used to. They might have worked a few years before they would see a high school varsity game. Now you could be like 5 games in, you can skate. Guess what? You're going on that line tonight. So we're getting some new people, and some of them really rise to the occasion. They're doing a great job. And some, it's going to be a learning experience. You're having to teach them while they're out there. It's on the job training, I guess you would say. So I don't know how you guys view that. And if you can tell, like, somebody's been around, you have young guys that have been working a long time, and then you get a guy that's 45, 50 years old that's doing his first few games, but you probably think he's been doing it a long time because he's an older guy and he's getting out there. I don't know if you guys can see that or tell the difference. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Whoa, why don't you take that one?
No, yeah, I actually don't notice. I kind of have a funny story. I was doing some Christmas shopping, and I ran into a kid that's a freshman in high school, that reffed a game over Thanksgiving. It was a championship game at St. Ignatius versus Loyola, which is a pretty big game, and it was a college kid, a freshman, doing the reffing it. So I didn't recognize him, but he said he was there reffing it, so I believed him. I don't think he would lie about that, but so I don't recognize. I don't notice. It's kind of hard to pick up on if you can skate and you're present. So yeah,
I know
I really don't pick up on that.
I know the individual that you're talking about, and he's in our development program for Illinois, and he's doing a great job this season. So he was afforded that opportunity because of the development program. Because if not, normally we require 2 years at least of separation between players that are officials. So if you're a senior in high school, you're not going to referee normally high school games. There are a couple. There's actually a high schooler that referees high school games. He lines. He does a good job. He's down here kind of on the southwest by me. But yeah, every once in a while there's somebody like that. Jack Young, who's working in the American League. You might know the name. Wendell Young is his dad. He's the GM for the Wolves. Jack he refereed game 2 of the U18 AAA state final when he was 16 or just turned 17 years old in the referee spot. So it was definitely far and few in between, but every once in a while you'll see somebody out there your age. So don't freak out about it. It's just they got the luck of the draw. I started refereeing high school when I was 17, so in the referee spot, which is pretty unusual.
Yeah, I mean, I'd jump in and say I definitely notice. But, I mean, what are we doing, honestly, as coaches and me kind of as an administrator in the game of hockey now in Illinois? I mean, I'm not – I do sit on that high school committee for AHI, but my job with the Blackhawks, what are we doing if we're pushing out any referees? I mean, we need to grow these numbers. So we have to, I think, collectively as a coaching, playing – fans perspective, try to be inclusive, just like in other areas of our sport. But if there's someone struggling to skate or someone who's a little bit older, we've got nothing but gratitude. To have 4 refs at our games matters, and we want that, and we hope that the other 3 will pick up the slack for them. And then I think my approach would always be to just give someone who looks like they're overwhelmed a little bit more rope, just like in any life scenario.
Are you bummed when you only have 2 instead of 4? How about you, Will?
Very bummed. Because I think the game has way more potential to get out of hand.
Yeah,
I agree. And not only that, when you have at least 1 extra official in the 3 or the 2 extra officials in the 4, there's not going to be stuff missed when there's a gathering of players. Hopefully. That is the intent. You can't always catch everything. Angles, you get blocked out, depending on how many elbows are flying. You never know. But I agree with you. I'd rather have the 4 official system. I'm glad we have it. I hope it's here to stay. I know a lot of people request to have the 2 referees and 1 linesman system. I get it. It works for a lot of areas, but I don't think that system is for high school hockey. You might as well keep growing linesmen as you go. Either use the 1 referee and the 2 linesmen, 2 referees and 2 linesmen, because all the other higher levels of hockey use those systems except for very few select high school and ACHA college and NCAA college. It's a small amount. I would say keep developing more linesmen, because we always have to have 2 linesmen in a 3 official system or a 4 official system. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, I'd pose to you guys, what other ways can we help get more referees in the game? Is that fan education? Is that, something the Blackhawks could be doing? What are there any kind of ways you feel like we could close that gap and encourage more people to sign up as refs?
That's a great question.
Well, so our board has been spearheading some different ideas, and actually I was going to come to you about it. But we did a pilot program with Illinois West, and we offered it out to their seminar, and it was an inclusive seminar for Illinois West parents, siblings, players, and they helped foot most of the cost for that seminar. So it was able to get a lot of people out to try refereeing that might not have. I can get you all that, Spence. That's one thing that me and Brian Fisher did. And it's something that we're going to try and pursue in a couple other leagues, because we had 38 participants, and I think 37 of them completed, and I'm pretty sure like 20 something of them have been reffing. So some people just have never been to a referee seminar. They don't know what's involved in it, and it can be a little overwhelming to go because the seminar is, quite long. We throw a lot of information at you, and then when you go out there the first time, you might get yelled at the entire time, even when you're right. So that could be the worst part of it. But I'll say in 23 years, I've been yelled at more times than I can count. But after you start to get used to it, you're kind of like, yeah, all right, what's he yelling about over there? All right, I'll come over here and talk to you about it. Let's calm you down. Most guys, you can calm down. It's far and few in between any more that I have. So that's my positive on it. The game has really changed to whereas when I first started 23 seasons ago, nobody would give a coach a bench minor. Like they basically had to throw something at you on the ice. And USA Hockey stepped in along with a lot of the other places, and they've made the coaches more responsible for their actions. So the players in turn have also, it's been on their actions as well, has been heightened. And it's a much different environment to referee in. To have those tools, it makes it a little bit easier for us. But of course, you're going to have somebody that's irrational. But again, it's not nearly as bad as it used to be. So I'll thank all the coaches, all of them.
Well,
even
I
some
want
of
to
the
add
guys
something,
that used
though,
to yell.
because, Brad, you're working higher levels of hockey. You're working with coaches that have been around for a long time. You have rapport with those people because you see them, week in and week out. It's much easier than it is for a newer official that's coming in that doesn't know the coaches, especially working at the beginning and lower levels of hockey. They're working a mite game, a squirt game, a peewee game, where the coaches aren't level 4 or level 5, and you don't know them, and it's a dad, it's a new coach, and they're hoping to be working the Stanley Cup Game 7 next weekend with little Johnny, and it's just much tougher. It's more of an emotional game when you have guys that you get a ex-NHL player with a AAA team and he's got squirts or peewees on the ice. I don't think he cares who's out there making what call. He doesn't care if you got offsides, icing, whatever you got. All he's doing is teaching his players what to do. He's focused on developing his players. Now,
Scott,
on the other hand, you do have some of them that are losing their mind on every icing or offside. But, like the really good coaches, they're not getting bent out of shape. Like they might bite their tongue a few times, but they're focused on developing players. And I think, if we had the coaches that could do that more, it would be easier for the younger people because you've got your better officials working with your better coaches. Kind of easier. You get your less experienced officials working with less efficient or less established coaches. It's a bigger challenge, and they're put into a tougher spot based on that, I think.
Scott, I can tell you, last weekend I worked midget AAA, U18s. I worked a whole bunch of those games. And I got compliments from coaches and stuff because they're coming in from around the country, and the shortage is not just our area. Yeah. There are other areas that are hurting really bad too. And then on Sunday, I did a mite AA game. I'm going to tell you, in this guy's eyes, I was the worst referee. I missed a slash. I missed a guy check a guy. One guy tripped a guy, and I said to him, I'm like, what are you watching? I'm like,
what game are you watching? Do you have something on a TV we don't know about?
Yeah, I'm like, I was like floored by him, and I'm like, I don't understand. I go, in mites, I go, they're gonna fall down. I go, they fall down a lot. I go, when you put helmets on little kids, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, they're adorable, but they can't stand up because their head's so big. So the second they bump into each other, one of them falls down. It's just part of growing up and developing. They're not out there running into each other to run into each other in a mite AA game 99% of the time. Does it happen? Yeah, and it's super duper obvious. Every penalty they take is obvious. So if you're a coach out there screaming and yelling in a mite AA game, you might want to realize the players that are playing and where they're at in development, they aren't even smart enough to try and trip somebody with the stick half the time. So, but anyways, I just thought I'd put that out there. So I've been there. It still happens. And I just went throughout my day and I was like, whatever.
All right, got a couple reminders real quick. If you guys haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, we are going to be moving 100% to YouTube shortly. So please click the subscribe button on YouTube. It's refroom.com/C. YouTube.com/C/refroom.
There you go.
Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, and we'd appreciate it if you would smash the like button a couple times, okay? That would be awesome. That's number one. Number two, if you'd like to support the channel, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/refroom. Brad and I need caffeine to do this, okay? We need help at this hour of the night. So, feel free to buy us a coffee. We'd be very happy and very grateful for that. We appreciate all you guys that tune in every week, guys, girls, players, coaches, fans, referees, etc. So we do appreciate that. And we have some very interesting breaking news. We'd like for you guys to stick around for this because I'd actually like to get your opinion on this a little bit. But we have some breaking news, and I've been holding this for a little while, but we are going to get that. I have one more question I want to pose here. This came from our referee-in-chief, Eric Kousel. This is for Will. For officials you don't see often or haven't seen before, what's the quickest way for us to establish a relationship with you or your teammates?
He was thinking today.
Yeah.
Give us a couple power plays.
That's what everybody wants, right?
For me, I think the biggest thing is a ref with patience and understanding of the team and where the coach is coming from. I personally have had a little bit of experience, not reffing hockey, but I umped baseball games. So I know what it feels like to get yelled at for the most random things. But just having patience with the players and with the coaches, I think it goes a long way, a farther way than you think, the ref thinks, or probably just me being a youth ump. I tried to just stay as patient as I could, and that ended up allowing me to build relationships with coaches, which went a long way for them. So I say I notice it when a ref has patience for the players and the coaches on the ice. It's easy to tell, and it allows the players to be able to feel comfortable, or the captains to feel comfortable going up to the ref and having a conversation instead of just letting the coach do it. So I like seeing patience in a ref.
Okay, it's good advice, and I think that's something we should all really take into consideration. Maybe we need to have more patience. I think a lot of times refs are trying to keep that game moving as much as possible with as few stoppages as possible sometimes for that, and I think you make a great point. So thank you for that, and I think a lot of guys will take that to heart, believe me.
I've never done it, though. Sorry, Spence, real quick I've never done it. I've never umpired baseball, all right? But I commend anybody that does, because when we referee ice hockey, there's boards and glass in the way in front of people. In baseball, it's chain link fence. It's totally open. It's a totally different atmosphere. So I have respect for anybody that does that. But go ahead, Spence. Thanks.
Yeah, I had a question on a specific rule. So in this Loyola championship game of the Jesuit Cup, we had an icing that was waved off by the linesman at center ice, and then in our defensive zone, blown dead by the other linesman. Now, to me, we had complete possession of the puck. Their guy wasn't close. And the face-off was in our defensive zone. And I think this is a recent rule change. Do you guys know why that rule changed in that way? So
was this a blown icing?
Blown dead anyways.
All right, so should it? Here's my question. I get where you're going. So it's not the one where they're shorthanded. Oops, the referee puts his arm up, and you have a stoppage because of it, right? I just want to make sure I'm on the right page. I'm pretty sure I know where you're going with this.
No, the ref at center ice thought that there was an obstruction to play the puck, so he waved off the icing. Other ref didn't notice, blew it dead.
Okay. Ultimately, here's what I would say is number one, was it icing?
No.
Uh-oh.
No, sorry. It was not icing.
No?
Sorry.
Okay.
It was not icing.
Okay,
blown icing. And I just thought that face-off normally would be outside the zone. And so that's where I wasn't up to date on the recent rules, but they did score off the ensuing face-off.
Yeah, it stayed down in your zone. It stayed down in the zone, correct? Okay, so on an errant icing, it stays down at the last play. So they changed that.
It's
It's
more
been
than it's
it's
more
been
than
a while.
12 years ago, I think. It's got to go
Yeah,
back. It's
been a
been like
while.
that since before I started. I'm in my 10th year, and it was like that before. Everybody used to think it went to center ice, and it does. In the NHL, I believe it goes to center ice, and I think
Yeah,
in
NHL, college,
NCAA it goes to center
center
ice as
ice.
well. But with USA Hockey, it's just a stoppage, and wherever you just stop play, that's where the faceoff will take place. And it might have cost me an adult league playoff game many years ago
Yeah,
because it
I
was
don't
an
like.
error on
I just
icing,
don't
and
like
now
the
I
idea
can't
that
get
we
the
have to
goalie
ref-
out of the net. We're down a goal, and now I got to have the faceoff in my zone with short time. So yeah, it kind of killed us there. But yeah, I will tell you, it's I think it's more tough now in a way because we have two sets of rules that we're working with on a regular basis because you have high school that can ice the puck and has delayed offsides, and you have youth hockey, including all the way up to U18, instant offsides, can't ice the puck on the penalty kill. So sometimes it's a little confusing, and we could throw in if you work an ACHA game or something else. You're playing with multiple sets of rules. So guys do once in a while space out and make a mistake. It does happen. Or, if the timekeeper, and I'm not blaming the time, but sometimes a penalty doesn't go up on the clock and you're trying to say, well, okay, he's out at 1:30, and unfortunately you forget that he's out in 1:30, or even though they're not supposed to, maybe a referee let a goalie sit in the penalty box to give you space on the bench where he's not supposed to be, but a linesman glimpses up and sees somebody in the box and like, oh no, they got to waive that because there's somebody in the box. Or, these are some of the things that happen. That's the real world. And, I'm not making excuses for anybody, but those are some of the things that you will see.
I have one other one that I'm wondering about. Do you guys ever think? Because I'd like to see this rule change made at the high school level. Why do you think line changes are allowed on icings? And
Oh,
can that ever be changed at the high school level?
I can tell. I could answer exactly 100% on where you're going with that.
Yep.
And I'll tell you this. All right. This is straight from the top. I've asked, okay, would it ever go there? They've said hands down 100% no. And the reason is because it's too complicated for average officials in order to get right. Because it's very difficult, because when those icings happen, it's the second that puck leaves that player's stick. Now you have to keep track of all these five guys getting off the ice. So could you imagine two guys in a high school game where they're forced to work two referees right now, trying to keep track of 10 guys on the ice, changing back and forth? And it becomes a skill that you hone over the years. But, even at the beginning of the year, every once in a while, I'll be like, the guy will shoot it and I'll be like, oh yeah, I got to look. And I'll remember to turn around. But by then they're already, maybe one or two guys already got off. And that's the reason
It
why.
would be a recipe for disaster. I mean, I think you would have a lot of issues.
I'll tell you out here. I'll give you a prime example of where the officials couldn't handle it, so they changed the rules. Many years ago, they tried this different kind of offsides, to where if you threw the puck into the zone, but the players were between the top of the circle and the blue line, it was just your arm went up, no, the play didn't shut down. So the offsides players are between the top of the circle and the blue line. Arm went up, they'd get the puck, and it was a free out of the zone. They were allowed to come out of the zone for free. Well, if I know it sounds crazy, we actually did this for 2 seasons. But what would happen is guys couldn't figure out who was on sides, where they were on sides. Well, then some guy would go back into the zone, they'd put their arm down. So they just went, nope, we're not going to do this anymore. And they went, to the instant offside. So it's just, you got to think of the people that are working the games too. Your players are probably sometimes more skilled than even some of us on the ice. So it's just, there's a lot going on, and it would make it umpteenths more times difficult.
Yeah, it
Can't
makes
talk
sense.
today.
And certainly more skilled than some of us behind the bench as well. So don't worry there. I had one more, and I heard this from Jeff Merrick. He kind of does that Sportsnet podcast for up in Canada. But he talked about the rule of if you get a penalty, if you score a shorthanded goal in the penalty kill, it literally kills the penalty, and you release the player from the box. So by scoring a shorthanded goal, you've killed the penalty. I just wanted to bring it up. I really liked it. I thought it would be a cool way to encourage. And I think some of those moments would be really cool where the player that scored the goal kind of releases the guy from the box or something like that. You could have some good stuff.
Takes the ankle monitor off.
Yeah. I don't know if you get early parole, if that's what you're going for.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the one thing I think that I would like to see that would be changed is to mirror the college rules for youth in order to try and cut down on penalties. If we're under a delay and you get scored on, your guy should still be forced to go sit down in the box and start that penalty. I just think it would cut down on some of the penalties. That's why college does it. They go into the box every time. So, but also college does they don't follow first in, first out. So we'll just leave that all alone.
Yeah, goalies serve their own misconduct penalty.
Yes, they do. I had one do it two weekends ago.
Yeah. The other one that changed this year, like you have the shot on goal, or it hits the glass and goes out, or the dasher and goes out. Now the faceoff is inside the zone, but yet they didn't change if the puck is tipped inside the zone. And I would have liked to have seen that be a part of it, because that is one of the more difficult calls for an official to make. Sometimes you got traffic in front of the net and you got 4 or 5 guys there, and the clapper goes at a high rate of speed, like you guys put it on net, and somebody tips it, and it's kind of hard sometimes to see where that puck is going. I would have liked to have just said, it's a shot, let's just stay in the zone, versus, the offensive team tipped it, let's go out, and we had some rule change that I just think it would simplify things, for not only for the new officials, but it would simplify it even for the guys working the higher levels, because the game is so fast. So, just my take.
No,
all right.
Interesting.
Should we share our breaking news now? Thank you guys, first of all, for doing this and staying on the show. You've put your full hour in, and we certainly appreciate it. So,
thank
you for doing it.
Well, it's good news.
Yeah, here's the breaking news, guys. We wanted to share with you. There are some new information has come out from USA Hockey that's going to affect all of us next year for all levels, because for many, 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 many years, as long as I've been in it, you've had to take an open book test, rule modules, safe sport, closed book tests, seminar, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Brad, I'm going to let you share the news since you sent it to me yesterday, and I was pretty excited to hear it, but go ahead.
Well, number one, seminars this year can be a hybrid, except for the levels 3 and 4. They will be actually done on Zoom or whatever platform they want to do them on. There's no more skating tests for level 4s as of right now. They might bring that back.
We haven't had a skating test for 2 years for level 4.
Yep, but you never know. They might bring it back.
Yeah. Yep.
The level 1s and 2s could be either a hybrid, so half of it in person, half of it done on the web, or they could be done in person. But
now let's get to the big news. Let's get to the breaking news right here. There's the big one, everybody. Go ahead, Brad. Wait. Do we have a... Nope, that's the wrong one.
No, that's the wrong one.
Go ahead.
The big thing is now, instead of having a closed book test and an open book test, it's just going to be one big open book test. Okay?
No more closed book test, everybody. No more closed book test. That's huge.
I think you get more out of an open book test than you do out of a closed book test.
I would agree.
If you don't know the answer to that question and you have your book, you're going to look it up and you're going to learn something.
And the way they've written those open book tests for years, they really get you to actually look at the rule and go through it. I think it's a great way of learning. I don't know, did they say if they're increasing the number of questions for the open book tests? Because at one time we were 100 questions. We were taken down to 50. Where are we this coming year?
So level 1s, you have to get a 35 out of 50 in order to pass. So they have 50 questions. Level 2s, You have to get 60 out of 75 correct. Level 3s have to get 85 out of 100, and level 4s have to get 90 out of 100. So the level 4s didn't get a
90
break.
out of 100.
We've
Out of 100
been
questions.
90%.
That's not going to be easy. We're all sitting here going, whoop-de-doo. That may be very challenging because even with the open book tests we've had, it's tough to hit 90% your first go-around. So it's going to be a challenge, and that means twice as much time. I think we all spend way more time doing the open book test, going through it over several days. And now if we're going back to 100 and we need to hit 90%, I think it will be a challenge. Now, did they mention, is there a retake? Is there one retake for the missed questions, or how is that going to affect everybody?
All right, so there's a couple things that have changed. So level 1s, if they fail their open book test the first time, they have to wait 7 days in order to take it a second time. So that's number 1. For levels 2s, 3s, and 4s, after 24 hours, you can take it again, which actually we had some level 2s and 3s that work a lot of games, procrastinated on their test here, and they failed. And guess what happened? They had to wait 7 days in order to take their test again. So a lot of them, for 5 or 6 days, couldn't referee and had to be replaced on games, and it was kind of a mess. So that's that part, and then the other part was they're going to still follow the module. So let's say you take it and you have 100 and you get 88 right of them. You only have to get 2 more right. They give you 12 different questions. If you get the 2 more correct, you're at passing, you're done, it's over. So everybody knows if you fail twice, you go down a level. So
Here's a question coming in already from Mr. Drews. Trick questions coming. Boy, that's a really good question in itself, because we have all, I don't want to say complained, but had concerns over the years with some of the questions that weren't worded well, and there have been changes made. There's been changes made even on the closed book. No, on the closed book have they changed? No, but the open book, sometimes the test will be released, and a week later they will make changes to it. So I will be very curious to see how that's going to play out, because if you have 1 or 2 questions that you really can't answer because the question doesn't make sense, or not doesn't make sense, but really doesn't have the correct answer, what are you going to do? Now you're only getting the chance to get 90 out of 98 questions, which means it's even tougher. So that'll be interesting. It's a good point, Steve. Thank you for that. Mr. Gaffney, who you will be seeing on Sunday, apparently, because he already told you. Sunday. Will needs to go finish homework.
I haven't got my homework done.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's how I had to do it. That's what my
I hope
parents made me
Spencer's
do.
buying you pizza and pop for doing this, okay?
Yeah, we have a very limited budget.
Yeah,
We
our
can
budget's
barely
very
afford
small
this.
here. We try to get a coffee out of people once in a while. It doesn't work.
No,
You
it
don't want
does.
to deal
but
with this guy's grocery bill. It's not good.
I
Right.
can imagine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
All right.
We do appreciate it. Will, if you see me on the ice, definitely come by and say hi. I know Scott would appreciate it too, and
Yep.
I'm sure all the other referees would.
Our special guest, the captain of St. Ignatius High School, number 36. Will, thank you for joining us. From the
Thank you,
from the
guys.
St.
Thanks for having
Ignatius coach and Chicago Blackhawks, Spencer Montgomery. Thank you again. We appreciate you
Thanks,
guys. All right. For me and Brad, thank you all for joining us. We do this every Monday night at 5:30 p.m. We are the Ref Room, and we will see you next Monday right here. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.